Hello, hello. Welcome to my LinkedIn Live. My name is Jen Lafine. And today we're going to talk about when your plan looks good on paper, but nothing is getting done. And I'm so glad that you are here with me today. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to start out by talking about the idea of the perfect plan. And so we love to create plans, and we think we've got the perfect plan that is designed to help us do exactly what it is we want to do. So why isn't that plan working? That's what we're going to talk about today. And I'd like to start things off by asking you to give me a thumbs up in the chat if you've ever thought to yourself, next week I'm going to do better. I'm asking that question because it is one that I can relate to, because there were many weeks when I finished the work week out and looked at my list and I was like, whoa, what happened? So we are on a constant journey here, and I wanted to talk to you today about this topic because I have a little bit different perspective on this that I think can help a lot of people. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen Lafine. I am the founder of Goal Getter Solutions, the Goal Getters Club, and the Goal Getter Framework. I love to help ambitious leaders and small business owners set and achieve their growth goals without mind drama. There is no room for mind drama when you are working with me. I've been working with goal setters for over 15 years, and it is work that I'm absolutely passionate about. So let's start by talking about the illusion of the perfect plan. And I say that with quotation marks around it. I want to talk about why good plans fall apart. So if we've got the perfect plan, why doesn't it work for us? So let's talk about some of those things that are kind of under the covers that we may not be aware of that might be sabotaging your long-term success. So the first one is that your mind, your subconscious mind, wants guaranteed success. So when you have that plan in front of you, it wants to know that you are going to be successful at every single thing on that list, or it's going to send you self-doubt as a way of keeping you from beginning. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Next, when you make that plan, very rarely do we expect self-doubt. Here we've got the perfect plan. We know exactly what it is we need to do. We never anticipate that self-doubt is part of the journey, and yet it always is. And finally, a lot of the times we let past versions of ourselves make our decisions about whether we are going to show up or not. All right. So subconsciously, your primal brain wants you to stay in what I call your comfort cave. That comfort cave is that fictional place where it keeps you safe, alive, and lazy. If you're not familiar with the primal brain, I'll just give you a quick synopsis of it. What the primal brain is an ancient part of our brain that called the shots back when we were living in caves, back in prehistoric days. And as our brain evolved, as man evolved through the years, part of the primal brain came with us. The primal brain thrives on consistency, and it has three goals for us: safe, alive, and lazy. It needs us to stay those three things as a way of protecting us and keeping us safe, alive, and lazy. So it uses our thoughts and our emotions to keep us in our comfort cave. All right. And that's really important. And a lot of people don't realize that. So when you're experiencing self-doubt or you're hearing like negative chatter in your head, a lot of times it's coming from the ancient part of your brain that is just trying to protect you. So let me go and check here. All right. Just want to make sure I wasn't having problems. All right. So let's move on. So our primal brain is often to blame when we make a perfect plan and we don't follow through. And again, just a reminder, it uses our thoughts and our emotions to keep us in our comfort cave. So I want you to be thinking, as I'm going through some of these mindset traps, these little stories that run through our mind, I want you to be thinking about if you've ever experienced these or said any of these to yourself. So here's a big one. As you're looking at your to-do list and you see that it's all laid out for you, a lot of times we tell ourselves that we need to feel motivated before we can take action. We need to feel like doing the work, right? And that's not necessarily the case. We also love to tell ourselves, our primal brain loves to tell us that I should be able to do this on my own. Because we know that when we ask for help, when we get help, things go a lot faster, right? And to the primal brain, that's very risky because that's going to bring a lot of changes along, and it does not like that. We also may be thinking that as we're doing something and we start to experience the discomfort of doing it, we might tell ourselves, this shouldn't be this hard. And a lot of times that statement is followed up with the thought of, I must be doing something wrong. Okay. Again, not always the case. Anytime you do something that you've never done before, of course, it's going to feel hard. You've never done it. So try not to let hard stop you from doing new and uncomfortable things. Remember, you can do hard things. Okay. And finally, here's a big one that I see a lot with people who come to me when they start working with me. They feel like they need to know the entire plan before they can begin. They need to be able to visualize it from start to finish. And unfortunately, we just can't do that. And that doesn't matter though, because a lot of times some people will tell ourselves, I need to know the entire plan before I begin. So let's talk about some of the underlying reasons why you may not be following through on that perfect to-do list and perfect plan that you've created. These next couple of slides, what I'm going to be talking about are some of the systems that your primal brain has set up that are running in the background of your mind that you may not be aware of, and they may be sabotaging you. So let's start by talking about the possibility that you may have a procrastination habit. Okay, you are not a procrastinator. You have a procrastination habit. It is reinforced just like any other habit. It is reinforced every time you do it. And unfortunately, what happens is when you have that habit, in this case, it becomes a part of your identity. So if you've got a procrastination habit, you let your emotions decide if you're going to take action or not. Okay. Also, you may find yourself buffering with busy work instead of doing the productive work. And what do I mean by that? You fill your days trying to check as many things off your list, but you always start with the easy things instead of the hard things. And then the end of the day comes, or the end of the week comes. You may have a lot of things checked off on your list, but those hard things are still there. Those are the things that are going to be nagging at you. Also, procrastination has just become your default when things get hard. It's just when you start to experience that discomfort of something hard, you just launch into procrastination without even realizing it. Here's what I want you to know about procrastination. Procrastination is one of the self-doubt roadblocks that the primal brain sends us as a way of keeping us from leaving our comfort cave. We procrastinate when we want to avoid the discomfort of doing hard things. That's really what we're procrastinating over. We're not procrastinating about the task itself. We're procrastinating because we want to avoid discomfort. Okay. So remember that the next time you're getting the urge to procrastinate, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute here. The other way that a good plan falls apart is you don't build up momentum because you start over every week. The inconsistency of not doing what you say you're going to do, it resets your confidence. You may have heard me talk in the past about your self-trust bank. Inconsistency pulls withdrawals out of your self-trust bank, and you need a nice fat self-trust bank when it's time to do hard things, because the balance in that bank, in that imaginary bank, shows you that you are someone who does hard things. Okay. Also, you don't gain momentum because you spend too much time spinning in the stuck cycle. Consider that like telling yourself you can't move forward because you're stuck. And what I have found is that when clients come to me and they tell me that they feel stuck, a simple shift that can get them out of stuckness is to ask them, how would future you respond to this? What would future you want you to do? Because when we get stuck, it's because we're making decisions from a past version of ourselves, from a younger version, from even the ancient version of ourselves. Okay. Momentum builds up that balance in your self-trust bank. And again, remember, we want a nice, fat self-trust bank balance. Another reason is that you could be avoiding accountability. A lot of entrepreneurs are high achievers, and accountability of us is something we avoid because we see it as a possibility that we could be called out, we could be embarrassed, someone could find out that maybe we aren't as high achieving as we think that we are. And so we tend to avoid accountability. We've learned to associate accountability with shame and with the need for hiding. And that's not what it is at all. The way that I practice accountability is I call it accountability without the angst, meaning I want to know if you didn't do something, why? What was going on underneath the surface? What stories were you telling yourself? What were you feeling? What was going on when you got that urge to procrastinate? If we can uncover that self-doubt and clear that up, we can get you moving forward again. So it's really important that you learn to reframe accountability as something that supports you and not something that causes you to feel bad. So let's talk about what actually works for follow through. Let's talk to get started here about changing the way that we think about procrastination, because we've come to think that procrastination means anytime we avoid doing something, we're procrastinating, and that is not true. Procrastination is intentionally avoiding doing something because it's hard or uncomfortable. When we procrastinate, it is driven by our fear, primarily our primal brain. And procrastination creates mental clutter, meaning whatever it is you needed to do is still going to be there when you're done procrastinating. You're still going to have to do it. Okay. Instead, I want to teach you about something called intentional pausing. Intentional pausing is when you are taking on something new and something bigger, and you think about starting, but instead you pull back and you take an intentional pause. It is a choosing to wait. When you are practicing intentional pausing, you are listening to your intuition and you are allowing space for reflection. And when you are practicing intentional pausing, you are actually creating clarity in your mind, because a lot of times you'll find out that that thing you were going for really isn't the thing that you wanted, but it's something that you needed. It's like a stepping stone you needed to consider to get you to the next step or to get you to where you needed to be. So I urge you to think about when you are procrastinating, is it because you are avoiding the discomfort of doing hard things? Or is it because you're not feeling completely aligned with this project or with this plan and you need a little bit more time to think about it? Also, something else that helps you take action is learning how to extend grace to yourself. And what I mean by grace is giving yourself a break, giving yourself patience. Grace comes when we look at the stories that we're telling ourselves when something is not done and we don't make ourselves feel bad over it. Okay. Grace also involves not listening to self-doubt, to knowing that that self-doubt is really just our primal brain trying to keep us safe and trying to protect us. So instead of listening to it, we can thank it for its concern and we can decide to step into the driver's seat of our plan. Okay. Grace also involves leading with curiosity. I love the word curiosity. All of my clients know that. I love curiosity. I love using that word because when we are curious, we are asking questions and we're digging deeper. We're not taking everything at face value, which is super important. So if you have a full to-do list that is not getting done, get curious about it. Why isn't it getting done? Is it not feeling in alignment with where you want to go? And then giving yourself that space and grace to figure out what that means for you. Also, identity. Taking on an identity that begins with I'm someone who, and then ... So I'm someone who finishes what she starts. I'm someone who writes for an hour every day. Okay. Building those identity statements is a great way to help you get those things on your perfect plan done once you feel that alignment. Okay. I also want you to practice making decisions from a place of where you want to go. This is called alignment. And it's thinking about the future and what your future self needs for you to do right now. Okay. Structure also really, really helps. And this is, again, once you have determined that your plan is in alignment with what you want and it is going to take you to a place that you're feeling called to, you need to have structure in your plan. You need to plan for the plan, so to speak. Some strategies that I like to teach are calendar and time blocking, where you set up a template of your day or of your week, and that helps you build habits of showing up at certain times for certain activities and being very intentional about what you put into those blocks. Okay. A tool that I like to use is also the Pomodoro timer, where you work in 25-minute blocks and then a 5-minute break. So if you're tackling something hard, consider setting a Pomodoro timer. That is a great way to say, I'm going to spend this next 25 minutes working on this hard thing. Often, all that it really takes is getting started, getting over that hump of getting started before you find your flow. And you're like, oh, yeah, this wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. Okay. It also helps to be in community with others, being around others who are honoring their commitments. So if you have trouble showing up to your to-do list, consider where you're working, consider the space that you are in. Do you have a community around you of others who are doing hard things? And if not, consider getting one. Also, habit tracking has really, really helped me. I have a daily habit tracker that I sit down every morning and I track the habits that I did the day before. And I love to see the patterns that evolve from that. Another thing that can really help you is practicing building momentum and not the starts and stops that are getting you off track. Okay. I want you to celebrate your progress. I'm a huge celebrator, and I want you to celebrate all of it, the little things, the big things, the in between things, because it all matters. And I want you to remember that as far as momentum goes, the day after perfect is really what matters the most. So if you have a day where you don't show up and do what you said you were going to do, that day does not matter as much as the next day, because it's in that next day that you get to decide, am I going back up and doing it, or am I going to stay down? So that's why I want you to think about the day after perfect. Focus on your progress, not perfection. It is always about the progress and moving yourself little by little towards where it is you need to go. Okay. And finally, finding joy in the journey. I didn't really understand what that meant about finding joy in the journey until I really started working with people on their goals. And it is about uncovering all of the ways that we are growing in the process of working towards a goal. I like to think that the goal itself is not the end point. It's the person that we are becoming along the way, because we are growing and we are evolving and we are showing ourselves that we can do hard things. And finally, and this is a big one for me, as you know, because I do help people with accountability. If you are having a hard time showing up to your to-do list, it's time to talk about accountability, and accountability in the right way, accountability that supports you, not accountability that makes you feel bad. The Association of Talent Development did a study, and they found that you are 65% more likely to meet a goal if you commit to someone else that you're going to be reaching that goal. The big one for me was you're 95% more likely to reach that goal if you have a check-in appointment with someone. Okay, that's what I do for my clients, and that's what I do in the Goal Getters Club. I want you to understand the underlying reasons why you didn't why you didn't do what you said you were going to do, because there are always underlying reasons. If it is because you were truly avoiding doing the hard thing, then it's time to get that kick to get going. Okay. But if it's because you maybe aren't feeling in alignment, that's a completely different story. So I want to remind you or tell you about this little story about the wonky journey of the airplane, because this is very relatable to the goal journey. Did you know that planes are off course 90 to 95% of the time during their flights? I had no idea it was that much. But if you're on a flight and you can pull up the the little tracking, you'll see it's like, it'll show you like what the ideal is, and then it will show you like all the little course corrections. Okay. They still reach their destination because the autopilot system is constantly making small course corrections along the way. If it didn't, you may take off from Miami heading to New York and end up in Los Angeles, right? And we don't want that to happen. So, is your autopilot system making your course corrections? Because goal journeys require course corrections too. And I want to show you and demonstrate for you using some of my course corrections so you can see how I have done it. And yes, that is me as a tiny little lady who thought that when she grew up, she was going to become a teacher. And I did become a teacher. I taught fourth grade for 4 years. But towards the end of my teaching, I felt the calling for something bigger. And that at that time, I made a course correction and I transitioned to entrepreneurship. Some of you may know I have started writing a book. A couple years ago, I made an announcement on LinkedIn that I was writing a book. And that was like a really big deal for me. And then as I was writing the book, something fell off. Something fell off to me about the topic. And so I made a course correction at that time to put the book away and to stop working on it and to let the idea marinate. Okay. And now I'm excited to say I feel like I really do have the topic for the book that I am meant to write. And I'm super excited to be working on it now. Okay. Also, I used to identify as a procrastinator. That became a part of my identity. Well, I'm a procrastinator. Okay. My course correction was learning about procrastination and questioning if discomfort is to blame when I procrastinate. I've been an entrepreneur now for 9 years and working in this area for the last 5 years. And recently I felt like I was getting a little bit off course and my days were going by and I wasn't really accomplishing what I had hoped I would do. So I started habit tracking and time blocking, and it made a huge difference for me. There came a time recently when I was ready to grow my business and I didn't know how, so I hired help. Shout out to the amazing Lisa Klein, who is my business strategist and is helping me really, really explode my business. I'm super excited, but that was a course correction for me. And also, I saw an opportunity for community and support. I thought at one time that I would be working one-on-one only with clients, but then I saw how important that community and support is, which is why I've started the Goal Getters Club. So my question for you, as you're looking at your perfect plan that is not getting done, are you willing to course correct? Have you course corrected in your perfect plan? Do you make decisions from the place you want to go instead of from where you've been? Do you allow yourself to change direction and not make it mean anything? Do you see self-doubt as a sign that you are growing and doing something new? Because that is what it is. Your primal brain, if you say yes to these questions and you said, yes, I am excited about course correcting and looking at planning in a different way, I'm going to give you a warning. Your primal brain is not going to like it because it is going to be something new and it's going to send you even more self-doubt and more chatter in your brain about not moving forward. Which is why if you are someone who's been stuck at a certain level and you want to go to the next level, you need to get yourself in a place where you are not doing it alone, around someone who can help talk you through that self-doubt, who can teach you about accountability without the angst. And that's exactly what I do in the Goal Getters Club. Okay. Goal Getters Club gives you support. It keeps you focused on where you want to go. You are building a bridge from where you were to where you want to be. And as you're crossing that bridge, I am there to nudge you along and to keep you moving forward. I will help you learn how to drown out that voice of self-doubt, because self-doubt is always going to be there. It never goes away. I hear it every day, but now I have a better skill set for dealing with it. Goal Getters Club also offers you structure. We have weekly meetings. We do regular goal setting and accountability, and we have co-working time that is dedicated to just getting together on Zoom. But the caveat is we have to work on something that we've been avoiding. So that's a great, great, great thing to do. Also, we practice accountability without the angst. I do not allow shame and I do not allow guilt. at all. When someone comes back to a session and they tell us that they didn't do what they said they were going to do, we dive into why, because there's always a reason and we always learn from each other. And it's really nice too, because you realize you're not the only one who struggles. Okay. And finally, we have an amazing community. The people who are in this group are all building their businesses. They are all going to the next level. They are at all different stages of their business. Okay. And seeing others growing and doing hard things helps us do hard things as well. Now, you may know, because I've been talking about it for a while, but my next cohort for Goal Getters Club is starting August 5th. That's less than 2 weeks away. I started out with 10 seats. I only have 5 seats left. I don't mean that as a way of showing diversity. I'm just saying those seats are going to go, and I would really love to have you in one of them. You have to, I think you get your best feel for Goal Getters Club when you experience it. And I have a free pass for you if you are interested in coming to check out Goal Getters Club. I would love to send you a free pass to check us out on the 29th. And we would love to see you there. If you are interested in learning more about Goal Getters Club, there's the link. I just put it up on the screen for you. You can learn more about it there. If you have questions about anything that I have covered today and you would like to get a hold of me, please send me a DM. Let's talk. If you'd like that free pass, send me a DM and say free pass, or drop it in the comments and I will send it to you. So, my friends, we all have goals. Those goals mean a lot to us. We are all going to be goal getters, and I am here to help you. Please reach out to me in any way for however I can help you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Thanks for being here.